January 2nd, 2013, Gates County Board of Commissioners meeting. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to stand. Gonna open with prayer. Father, Lord, it's once again we come before you to thank you for this blessed privilege to serve the county. We thank you, Father, for the great blessings you bestow upon this nation, our state. And Lord, we ask you to bless now the deliberations and discussions that we have and give us guidance and direction. Bless the citizens of this county, the officials. And we thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now call our meeting to order. The first item on our agenda today is approval of the agenda, and we have one adjustment to the agenda under item 4, where we have item B, Ed Webb Sheriff. I'd like to change that to Chairman Jordan. You all have to pardon me this morning, I'm a little hoarse, but we'll do the best we can. Item B will become Chairman Jordan. Are there any other adjustments to the agenda? If there are no other adjustments, we will call for the motion to approve the agenda as corrected.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from December 3rd. December 5th, December 6th, and December 10th.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any adjustments to the minutes of any of those dates.
On page 1192, seventh paragraph. As Commissioner Hoffler made a motion to appoint Commissioner Jernigan and Owens, that should be Hoare. That was the discussion we had about the three.
You made the motion.
All right.
No. Mr. Jordan did that. That's the PCGB board, which Kenny and I were on. You
Commissioner.
volunteered, but we couldn't have the three, and then we got that reclarified. So that should be Hoare. That's on minute 113 through 116 on the videotape.
All right, Commissioner.
It was only two commissioners.
That's right. It's
Jernigan and
Commissioner
Hoare.
Jernigan and Hoare on the PCGB board with the county manager. You can't have three. Well, one of the three includes the county manager.
What he said is on 1192, where Owens is, it should be Hoare.
Okay.
I actually
On
had it
the-
circled on mine as well.
It's on the top line, the top one. Commissioner Hoffman made a motion to appoint Commissioner Jernigan and Hoare. Commissioner Owens seconded the motion.
Have you got that? In other words, change where it says Jernigan and Owens. We need to change Owens to Hoare on the top line. And Owens second the motion. Okay. Any other correction?
So,
All right, if there are no other corrections, we're entertain a motion to accept the minutes of December 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 10th as corrected.
So move.
Second.
There's been motion properly second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Okay, this time we'll have our citizens' comments. Thank you. Okay, first one is Ms. Frances Jenkins.
First, I would like to say good morning to each of you.
Morning.
Frances Jenkins, president of Next to None Ride, is a nonprofit corporation here, founded here in Gates County as of January 1st, 2011. Myself and some of my officers, as you see here, have come before you all today to bring forth an issue that's going on with our organization with the Planning and Zoning Department. As of June 2012, we have leased the property at 790 U.S. Highway 13 North, the former Dawson Rogers, so you can relate to what property we're referring to. Since then, we have renovated the building at a current estimate of $10,000 at the present time. Our presumptive use for the building was a place for our organizations to conduct our planning meetings, conduct fundraisers for many charitable causes that we support. However, we are being told by the Planning and Zoning Director, Mrs. Jeffro, that the property is zoned agriculture. To my own knowledge and research of the property, it was built in 1940 for the use of a store, which is commercial and has always been a store or a restaurant ever since. The building was built for a commercial purpose. We have a question about this matter. Is the zoning map incorrect and just needs to be corrected by the Planning and Zoning Department? I am aware that a zoning ordinance was put into place in 2007 and revised in January 2009. But can this or does this apply to a structure that has been built for commercial use and for that purpose for 70-some years? We have been instructed to apply for a special permit use by Mrs. Jeffro, in which we have done. The application fee of $500 has caused our nonprofit organization financial hardship, not to mention the thousands of dollars that we have put into a building that we've been told that we can't use. I would like to ask that if in fact that the zoning map is correct, that our special permit fee be waived due to the organizations being a nonprofit corporation and we signing the lease agreement to the building. Even the owner, Judge Grafton Beeman himself, had no knowledge that his property was not commercial. Judge Beeman himself had no knowledge of any zoning changes until I advised him of the problem we were having. We would greatly appreciate any assistance that you can give us in this matter. Our mission is to promote fellowship, unity, and enjoyment amongst ourselves and other organizations like us in an effort to support causes and needs of our community. Some of the goals that we have set out to achieve are to provide mentorship to the community's youth and give our youth something positive to do within the county. We are a group of individuals from all avenues of life: coaches, teachers, county workers, city workers, social workers, nurses, correctional officers, military, and etc., who have come together with the goal of being a monument supporting youth as well as the elderly and other causes and needs within our community. We have generously donated school supplies to the schools here in Gates County, supported the Toys for Tots for less fortunate kids here in Gates County. More recently, it provided over 100 citizens of Gates County with Thanksgiving dinner. Again, our goal is to be a monument in the community as we strive to support any causes and needs that come before us. If we can resolve this matter that we have before us, it will allow us to advance our organization's goal of being a monument and a positive aspect in Gates County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. We will take a look at this, and we'll ask the planning board to get back with the board and provide us a discussion on it. We'd like to do that at some other time, and we can address this at our night meeting. Okay. Our next citizen's comment by Mr. Earl Roundtree.
You had to get me back up, though. I can't get up when I get down. Hello, I'm Earl Roundtree. That's for the 3 people in the county that don't know me. I didn't come in here, I just come in here to give a little report, Chairman, and we want to, and I say we, the people of the county, the veterans of the county, the military people of the county, the family of F.J. Outland, certainly want to thank the commissioners for being so considerate on our plaque and picture and dedication. Never in my life did I ever expected it to turn out the way it did. Perry back here made a comment which was somewhat true. You sit around and you plan and plan and plan, and then you got to make sure you execute the plan. And everything turned out real good, except I had 50 flags that I intended to give away to the veterans and the contributors, and about 90% of the people had gone home, and I was sitting out there and I looked out there and I had 50 flags to pull up, and I wanted other people to pull them up. But I did want to give you all a report, and thank you for being, and Henry and Jack and Johnny for their help that day. First of all, to the citizens and to Cal, the newspaper man, being the physical conservative that I am, I do want to make a point that this didn't cost the county any money. I didn't come in here like some organizations and some people and sit in here and say, I need $1,000 or I need $2,000. This didn't cost the county taxpayers a penny. Collecting the money was pretty easy, but I want to later put this in, Cal, because as of now, I collected $2,665 without trying. There were some people that promised some money that didn't ever give it, but some people, I got a donation as of last Saturday, and I told the lady, I said, well, I got plenty of money. She said, no, I want to give this money. And she said, you said you were going to give the extra to the Wounded Warriors projects, and I want to give you, she came to my house and gave me a check. The average donation was $70.13, and that was shocking to me, but I was glad because I didn't have to go out here and do any fundraising, and I didn't have to go ask anybody else to do any fundraising. All the funds came to me, Linda, and everything I think has been paid, except we never have settled this issue of getting my disc, Johnny, from the county. I want to thank Mr. Thomas Langston. He's made a copy, and he told me he had a copy today to make sure to give to the Outland family. But Thomas did most of it, but he didn't do the first part. And, of course, Johnny's camera's at a different angle, and we wanted to put them together. I think I sent the county manager an email. I don't know how many times I word, Ken, but I think that seeking we get that disc. But we have $700 left over, and so if the county or anybody needs any money for the disc to get them copied, I got the money to do it, but I hadn't sent the Wounded Warriors their money yet. Outside of that, I think that was all that I had to say about it. I thanked everybody that I know of, and I don't want to be here today any more than you want me here, so I'm going to sit down and rest.
Thank you, Earl. Ken, were those discs available?
I'll make sure, I'll check on it. But
Okay.
concern.
All right. Okay. You might want to, oh, he's gone already, but Diane has those. All right. Next item on our agenda would be our county reports, and we'll start with our finance officer, Ms. Sandy Pittman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Sam.
Morning.
I've just got a few budget amendments. You can roll through those. Y'all have those in front of you. Okay, number 27, is for social services. We've received an increase in the amount for our crisis intervention program. This is state and federal money. There's no additional county money here, and that's just a budget to spend those funds. Number 28 is the same thing for the LEAP program through DSS. The only difference here is this money was budgeted, the revenue was budgeted in with the state and federal admin, and we've created a separate line just for easier tracking in our system. So that's why there's the two revenue lines up top, but we've received an additional $14,000 in appropriations for that. Number 29 is an amendment to cover unemployment charges that we've received. We had budgeted $4,000. We have some money in the miscellaneous revenue line that we've received that was not budgeted previously, and I'd like to use that to cover these charges. Number 30 is a budget for a new grant that Reba has received, and she's here and can speak to you about the actual grant. But again, there's no county dollars included here. This is strictly revenue and expenditure based on the grant. And that's all that I have.
All right. All right, we have the 4 amendments. Is there any discussion on them? There's no discussion. We'll entertain a motion to approve the amendments as presented.
So move.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can you have Reba explain this program a little bit, considering it's something new?
All right. Reba?
Thank you.
The new grant that we received was from the community transformation grants that have been made available through the health department to help improve health issues in the counties that it covers. And so we applied to improve health opportunities for our young people, since childhood obesity is an issue, and it's an issue in Gates County. So we will be able to purchase fitness supplies for our youth to use in the after-school program and for some special interest programs that we're going to do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Sounds like a good program. Okay, our next item on the agenda will be our tax administrator, Renee McGinnis.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Morning.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank y'all for the time that you gave the county employees at Christmas and the extra time on that Friday for us to all get together. It gives us a chance to see county employees we don't get to see through the year and meet new ones that we don't know have joined us. And I'd also like to thank Reba and her staff for what they do. They put a lot of work into it so the rest of us can have a good time. I hope they enjoy getting it together as much as we enjoy their outcome. But thank y'all for that. You do have your tax collector's report, and the only thing that you will see a little different on here is we have started putting our percentages on here. And as you will see, we are a little over 2% above where we were last year this time. Our overall collection rate as of the end of December was 72.85. Last year, as of that time, it was 70.7. So we are a little above where we were for right now. We'll see how that goes when we hit June 30th. And if you have any questions about this, I know you haven't had time to really look over it, you can just give myself or Ms. Harrell a call, and we'll be glad to answer any questions you may have in reference to it. We did get our listed abstracts, as I'm sure you all know, out on the 21st of December, and also in those were included an insert in reference to the new tag and tax system that will be taking place, hopefully to kind of educate our citizens on that change. And also in February and March, our staff will be attending training seminars in reference to the new tag and tax software that will be going in place. I believe it will actually come into place in our office in April, because we will have to start with that time frame in order to work with the July renewals, which will be the first renewals that will be involved in this new tag and tax system. And also, we have finalized the bid on the Lassiter Lane property. We had a final bid of $1,000. No other bids after that, so we settled that at $1,000. So as of right now, the county has no properties out there to offer. So that's a good thing. So do
We
y'all
have
have?
none in foreclosure?
Well, we have some that are in foreclosure, but we do not have any that the county has purchased that we have to market at this point. So, any questions in reference to anything?
Just a statement, Renee, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think even on the prior year totals here that our percentage has declined. In other words, we've actually improved that situation compared to last December, I believe,
Yes, and I hope,
if I'm recalling correctly.
yeah, I think you're right, and I hope maybe this year in this upcoming budget, we may have to lower that delinquent tax revenue a little bit, because we have collected enough of it. So, anyway, any other questions?
Did we have signs out there at that location, at Lassiter Lane? Do we have signs out there?
We did not have signs out there because it did not abut the property. In fact, we actually had an adjoining landowner that was bidding on it, but that was not the one that ended up with it. So, but it was off of the road, and not real sure where it'll go from here, but anyway.
You know, probably in the future, we may want to, even if we put one at the end of the road, you know, direct
Right.
them to it. One other, Zacchaeus, legal fees paid, we paid him $896.99.
These are their fees that we have collected, because all of that funding is coming through us now.
Right.
So then that goes back out to Zacchaeus.
So those are the fees that were collected by the county, sent to
Yes.
Zacchaeus? Okay. All right. Now, those, have they begun to bring in any collections for the county?
Oh, yes, we've had several that the complaints have been filed, the taxes have been paid off, and their fees have been paid and whatnot. We, as of yet, had not gotten to a point that we've had to take one to the courthouse steps yet, so.
Is it, do you plan to identify those as, in the future, as collected by Zacchaeus, or we'll just...
What we can for the next, or I'll say the February meeting, we can prepare, because I think we did email y'all a list of those that were actually sent to Zacchaeus. What we can do is take that spreadsheet and update that for y'all, so you can see who has paid, who has not.
As a result of Zacchaeus? Okay, that'll be good.
Okay?
All right.
Renee, after we've worked with them, you know, for quite some time, we probably could call on them for some type of progress report or something?
Oh, I'm sure that, yes, which we have a spreadsheet that we keep up with as to what has been paid and that sort of thing. And so what we can do is just periodically send y'all a copy of that spreadsheet so that you can follow it as well.
Okay,
Any other
Yeah.
questions?
Good job.
very good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a planning director, and we have a flood damage ordinance text amendment. And we're going to ask our county planner to come up and discuss that, and we'll go into a public hearing.
Good morning.
Morning.
This morning, I got a phone call finally back from FEMA, the Department of Emergency Management Floodplain Mapping Department. They have requested, and or rather advised, that we make further adjustments to this definition for clarity and confirmation to FEMA requirements. John Gerber, he's the engineer. He has been on active military duty prior to the holidays, and he just got back with me this morning. He advises that we need to revisit this, the planning board and I, and make some more adjustments to this definition, and that we hold this off until the night meeting of this month.
Okay, board,
Could I make a recommendation of the board here?
sure.
I'd recommend the board continue and have the hearing, but continue the hearing till the next board meeting, and that way you won't incur any additional expense, and FEMA can have their input into the definition that the planning board's working on.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to inject something on that too, which I've been thinking about this a while, and with these public hearings here, and I'll go right back to my original thing last month. I think that any time that we're having public hearings, we need to give the opportunity for the public to be here. Now, does that mean at night when more people are accessible? So I would really like for us to start considering that we're having these public hearing meetings at night, where we give all of the citizens the opportunity to speak. And these are trying times. People out there trying to support their families and stuff, they don't have time to come down here, even if it's important to them. It's got to be extremely important to them. But I do think that all opinions are to be looked at and to be respected. And I just want to continue to give people that opportunity. And we look out here at the audience here. I mean, why is that? I don't know if it's improving attendance, but I know if there's an issue out there, I would like to do it on my free time rather than my work time, where my boss man expects me to be at work. And, you know, I just think that's being recognizing the citizens and giving them an opportunity. And we have to do what we have to do, but if at all possible, I just think we need to have these public hearings at night.
All right.
Could I ask Mrs. Jeffrey a question?
Certainly.
Concerning this flood text amendment, after the storms that we had, or what was it, Floyd, wasn't North Carolina the pilot program for redoing the maps?
Yes, ma'am, I believe it was. We were the pilot program across the nation. We have gone leaps and bounds above other states with our floodplain mapping program and the maps online. The issue that we have at hand here is that our freeboard is 2 feet, whereas across the state, including Currituck and Dare, they use 1. And what a freeboard is, just to summarize, if the base flood is 4 feet, we require an extra 2 feet elevation on top of that. And 2 foot out here is ridiculous, even when Dare utilizes 1, Currituck utilizes 1, and everywhere else across the state that I'm aware of utilizes 1. So we were trying to make it easier for the citizens of Gates County. There's just a couple more tweaks we need to make to this to make it conforming with FEMA regulations. But yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So that, I went on my computer last night and looked at the floodplain maps. You can click and you go to your own address. So that, the base flood elevation, let's say if it was 4 feet, you are saying that with the Gates County well, Gates County, first of all, does not have a regulation. It's just in a definition, correct?
Each county can make its own freeboard requirements subject to as it see fit.
But we do not have one at the current time.
We do. Ours is that 2 feet freeboard.
But isn't that in the CAMA stuff?
No, ma'am. That's part of Gates County's regulations. FEMA flies over and they establish base flood elevations depending upon certain engineering. We'll just say that it's 4 feet. Each county can put in a freeboard if they choose. Most places do 1. We chose to do 2. Why 2 was input, I am not sure. 2, I think, is overkill. That is part of our floodplain development ordinance. That is your option as a county to have further flood protection if you so choose.
Well, I just saw it in a definition, and then it said that it was superseded by the BFE, which is the base flood elevation, that would take over if the area was mapped. So our area is mapped, so why wouldn't the base flood elevation be our?
The base flood elevation is in fact in place. This is 2 feet above the base flood elevation.
So 6 feet?
Yes, so if your elevation is 10 feet, this would take it to 12 feet. And what Morgan and the planning board were saying is just go up 1 additional foot instead of 2 feet all that's doing is driving up the cost of your project.
Let me ask a question about this, and I've thought about, and I know of a couple of instances where this has been a problem. Is this a federal regulation at
It
all?
is a federal regulation to go to at least the base flood elevation. It's the county's option to go above base flood elevation to 1 feet or 2 feet or however many feet you decide to go. That's why the county has a flood management ordinance or a flood prevention ordinance, is what they're frequently called also, to go above the minimum base flood elevation.
So Ken, should I have the opportunity as an individual with my insurance company and I'm at the base flood, that to me becomes between the insurance company and myself as to the risk that I'm taking? Should that supersede, is that available? In other words, if I sign off and say, hey, I'm willing to take this risk?
No, you have to go along with whatever the county's ordinance is. Now, some counties, is not many, but 1 or 2 counties say 0. Base flood elevation is it. Most counties, 90% of them probably do 1 foot. Very few counties do 2 feet.
So do the insurance companies get involved in this?
They would give you, it's my understanding, they would give you a slight decrease if you had a 1 foot elevation in your county that you went by.
Okay.
But that's company by company.
Right, I understand.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we have before us a recommendation to change the base flood elevation additional requirement of 2 foot from 1 foot, from 2 to go to 1. And we've advertised in the paper that we would have a public hearing on this. And we do want to go into public hearing to allow the public to make any comments that they would like to make. And we will continue this public hearing until our night meeting. So we will have an opportunity to make further comments. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion to open the discussion for public hearing on the flood damage ordinance text amendment.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been motion second. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we're in public comment. Are there any public comments on the amendment to the floodplain text amendment?
Commissioners, I'd like to make one recommendation to the planning board, which I am on, and I heard the county manager make the reference to a county ordinance that required, that is already in print in regards to the 2 foot overboard that was in place, and we as a planning board voted to release it down to 1 foot. Isn't that correct? After Mr. Ewer came in on a night meeting. Is that correct? My concern is where is the document that says that we've got to have 2 foot? I've not seen it. I want to see the document that says we've got to have 2 foot before we go forward into the next night meeting.
More's got a comment.
Where is this located at there?
It's on our website, and the state has a copy of it as well. It's our flood damage prevention ordinance.
So this is a, okay. See, this was some of the confusion I think myself and other members had, is where was the 2 foot located?
It's hard to find.
Okay. I think at our next meeting, we need to have a copy of that ordinance so we can all see what we're looking at and what FEMA is ultimately requiring in language, correct?
Yes, sir. They've got a copy of it, yes, sir.
I haven't seen that.
Mr. Chairman, I would.
Public comment.
Sure.
Any other? Yes, Mr. Ewer.
My name is Perry Ewell. I'm from Ewell. I'm representing your Baptist Church. We have tried to start our social hall last March, and it's just been one thing after another, dragging our feet, drawings, setback requirements. We've overcome those. And I thought we would take care of this today, but it seems like we're going to have another delay. All we want to do is get the 2 feet changed to 1 feet, which to me is a simple matter. I don't understand why y'all can't vote and say, you got 1 foot for this case, but we have been dragging our feet, and we want to get something started, and we can't start it. Can't get a building permit because of this one issue. Any help you can help us with, we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ewell.
I just wanted to come back up here and say, I think Mr. Ewell made a perfect good point. In coming to commissioner meetings for years, I know how politics works, and unfortunately, a lot of us, including me, get kind of, I guess, irritated with the slow process. The 1 foot, I think you said it was probably 90% of the counties have it. We're looking at flat counties like Dare and Currituck and Camden with 1 foot. It's a simple matter. It should have been 1 foot a long time ago. We got a lot of stuff in here, and Henry, I know, has worked on this for 4 years, and a lot of it never has been changed. In order to change these things, you simply raise up your hand, take a vote, and put it in record. And I want to back Mr. Ewell and everybody else. This is one of those cases that it's time to go ahead, do it. We could have a public hearing, like John and Henry said, to make it legal. But I sure hope when y'all come back at the night meeting, you go ahead and take care of this, because we might be able to save a soul down there in your Baptist church if we can get this fellowship hall built. And I know that y'all don't want to be responsible for somebody going to hell because of this ordinance. And while I got the floor a minute is, Mr. Hoare brought this up prior to, as we're going into the hearing about the night meetings. This thing has been discussed and rediscussed a long time before any of y'all were even on the board. And the old board people didn't want it. And I honestly believe that part of the reason, and having been here, was the fact that they just didn't want people to come. And that might be a bad thing to say. I don't think they wanted to keep you away, but it was some various reasons. But Mr. Hoare made a perfect good point. This is something else I think you need to think about. If you work for me, if Jack Owens worked for me, I'd let him have his job now because I might use him. But if he worked for me and he had 2 or 3 problems, and every time I looked at it, Jack come to me and says, I got to have off, Earl, Monday or Wednesday. What's wrong? I got to go to commissioner meeting. Well, why don't we have it tonight when you're not working? But about 90% of the people work during the days. And it would make sense that in Currituck and the other counties, Currituck have all that, and Pasquotank, I think, have all their meetings, night meetings. We need to address that too, Johnny. I'm behind you 200%. Should have been done a long time ago. Thank you.
All right. Any other, any other comments? All right. If there are no other public comments, we'll entertain a motion to come out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Well, and continue the public hearing until our January 23rd night meeting. Would you redo that motion?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right. It's been motioned second that we'll come out of public hearing and continue it to the January 23rd night meeting. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Mr.
All right.
Chairman.
Yes.
In lieu of that, and I'm in support of that, obviously, but is it possible that we can address Mr. Ewell's position here and get this thing rolling for that one exception? Is that possible, that we can do that today? No, sir.
Not unless you amend the ordinance today, and that would have, we're waiting on FEMA input.
Right. I think
Okay.
the nature of the ordinance is that FEMA has to approve any language change that we make. It is more or less dictated as to what we can say.
Okay.
And the change that I believe is going to be made will have to do with the base flood elevation definition. So if we're going to change that, certainly we want to have FEMA's approval before we move forward.
Mr. Ewell, could you wait 2 or 3 more weeks, sir?
All righty. Thank you. Any comment, other commission comments? Jack?
Well, I certainly don't expect there to be a flood over there where they're going to build Fellowship Hall. And that's unfortunate that they're caught in this delay. But when you're talking about a federal program, you may think that these things, oh, well, let's just turn this over, let's just make it a little bit different. We don't have the ability to rewrite FEMA's rules, and we don't have the ability to frame every sentence and every definition like we want. It's got to be approved by them. And a lot of people don't understand flood insurance. It is a very complicated thing, and it's not a problem with a lot of people until they have a flood. So when we're putting these things, these changes in our ordinances and things like that, we can't be thinking about one, and that's what I'm saying about the church here. We can't be thinking about one property. That definition is also in there for the lowest lying property in Gates County. And unfortunately, that's why we're having to wait. So, anyway, it's a little more technical.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, if there are no other comments, we'll move to our next agenda item.
Thank you.
So much. We'll go to our old business. And our old business, the first item will be Chairman Jordan responding to the request from Mr. Chuck Brothers on the Merchants Commerce Center retention pond expansion. And we've done the research on that, and we found that the county manager authorized the expansion of the retention pond in the Merchants Mill Pond Commerce Center at a cost of $9,000 because when the land was given to the county to build a library, there were no provisions in that deed to accommodate or pay for the county to have a retention pond or any other type storm drain-off requirement that EPA or DENR would require. We also find that the architect that we hired, LS3P, did not put into their design construction criteria any provisions for a storm drain runoff. As such, the county was left into a position where we had to make a decision, are we going to build a pond or do we go to the developer and ask him to expand the retention pond? Well, obviously that was a decision that was not a great challenge, and the decision was to have the developer expand the retention pond to accommodate the EPA requirement at the cost of $9,000. So the decision the county manager made was one that had to be made. It was one that he was basically authorized to do. As far as the amount of money that he was authorized to approve in our budget amendment, or budget ordinance, if you will, that we annually prepare, we have a provision in there that the county manager can authorize changes up to an amount, and I'll read that to you. So the manager may enter and execute change orders or amendments to construction contracts when the appropriate annual budget or capital project ordinance contains sufficient appropriated funds. So the county manager was authorized to do that if the funds were there. So apparently the funds were there and he was able to make that change. So as far as limiting how much the county manager can approve, as it stands right now, he doesn't have an amount that he can just arbitrarily approve unless it's given to him in the ordinance or it's approved by the general statute. And North Carolina General Statute 143, 131 specifically says that there cannot be changes made without informal bid processes and notification to the commissioners if it's $30,000 or less. So having said all that, the bottom line would be that he was authorized to do what he did. The amount that he approved was within the amount that he was authorized to approve, and any changes in limiting the amount that he can approve would have to be addressed in our next budget ordinance that we prepare for 2012 and 13. And I'll give any of the commissioners an opportunity to speak on that as well.
Well, back some time ago when that subject came up, I think as we were having that around budget time, I think I addressed that specifically about the amount of the money and the aspect of the county manager informing the commissioners of change orders. I never received a change order. I don't know if you did or not. Other method on that, and I speak that very bluntly as a businessman, that is a failure on business sides, people, to properly protect themselves within the deed or any object there is. To me, that liability should not fall upon the county. We did not make the mistake. The mistake was made by the developer and not Gates County. I'm not in the habit as a businessman of paying for someone else's mistake, regardless of what my position is. It's just the way business is. There's no fine line. It's either left or right. There's no in the middle. Now, I don't think this is the right thing for the taxpayers of Gates County to be expected to take up for someone else's mistake. If you are in a transaction with me, you can bet I'm going to do everything I can to limit my liability of any transaction and my risk taking. That was the developer's responsibility, not Gates County's. Now, it may have been, from an ethical type standpoint, it is your responsibility to be, I guess, receptive to your customer or whatever and point out certain things to them. But it is not my responsibility, if I don't have that knowledge or don't think about it, to tell them that they are missing certain criteria. That's what you get warranties for. That's why you asked about warranties when you buy products. Things. You want to know how you're covered. As you're in there, if I'm a developer, I want to limit my liability and make sure that I'm going to get the funds that I am supposed to receive or whatever. That was not done. It wasn't recorded that way. So I don't think that the county should be picking up a tab for someone else's mistake, regardless of what the situation is. And as I said, we discussed this about the amount of the limits and being informed of change orders. I didn't receive that email. I didn't receive it verbally until that meeting. So that's my position.
Chairman?
Yes.
I wasn't on the board when this occurred, but I do have a problem with the board not being informed when there was a change to be made. I mean, we are a team of 5. If the county manager had made the change, informed everybody on the board, that is the decent thing to do, the ethical thing to do, and that greatly concerns me, concerning that. And yes, the ball was dropped by several people. The right questions were not asked, evidently. And I will left on a $9,000 bill.
All right. Anyone else?
Was it Diener that brought this to the attention of the developer or to the county manager or?
What happened, I believe, and Ken can help me out on this, is that when we went to apply for the permits, we had to get DENR and EPA to sign off, and that's when the question of what size is your retention pond, or do you have one? So at that point, LS3P came back to the county, who was our architect, and let us know that we had to have a retention pond, or stormwater drain off is what it is, runoff, if you will. And that's when the county manager went to the developer. The developer optionally said, I don't have any provisions. I gave you the land. He gave us 3 acres of property to build a library, but the deed did not specify that he would take any additional cost for any environmental requirements that may be put upon the county.
Well, my question is, what happens moving forward? Do we have a pond big enough now, or do we get in this, is someone else in this position? Who's going to pick that up?
Well, I think, several things have been addressed here. First of all, obviously there was a mistake made, but I think the board has to take some of that responsibility. When LS3P presented the contract, the building specs to the board had to approve that. Apparently, and obviously, we did not recognize that the provision for a retention pond was not in there. So there's some responsibility on the board as well. That has to be taken into consideration. I'm not sure if we have the expertise to recognize that we should have had that retention pond. We left that to LS3P, and LS3P, obviously, we'll hold them accountable. That's something they cost us $9,000 as far as it appears. Yes. Yeah.
Chairman of the board, the retention pond, here again, I wasn't here at the time either, but the retention pond either had to be on the property or somewhere else and drained to another location nearby the property. And it was my understanding that the decision was made by someone, I'm not sure, to not put the retention pond on the property because of the fact that you'd have to maintain it as county property, or the library would have to maintain it. Let the total project maintain the retention pond along with the rest of the retention pond where it is currently located. It looks to me like back last summer, it was a classic case of just poor communication and not keeping the board up to date on what was going on. And all of this should have been in writing too. And I can't find anything in writing from back then. So I think it's a good lesson to learn from the next manager here and the board that there has to be good communication between the manager and the board and whoever you contract with in the board. The architect meets with the manager and the construction company every month. And if there's something that's going to cost the county more money that comes out of these meetings, there should be communication between the manager and the board detailing what the additional cost would be. That appears not to be done, and that's where I'd say the downfall is. You guys were just not kept in the loop, and you should have been. Honestly, you did not have much choice. You really, having put the retention pond where it is, was a much better situation than trying to put the retention pond on the same lot as the library. That just doesn't look good, and you'd have some liability there also. It was not fenced in, and if you did fence it in, it would be some unsightly problems there too. So I think the decision that was made to put it where it was the correct decision. Most of the problem appears to be the poor communication.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
My comments on it would be that if you see how the property was developed, and you see the ditching and things of that nature, you would believe that it was being done that way so that that one retention pond would take care of everything. And you have to admit, it's an incredibly large retention pond. and it's incredibly deep. So I was under the premise the whole time that when they developed X number of acres, that pond was going to be sufficient, just like we made sure that the sewage system was going to be sufficient for the number of acreage. And, I mean, ours was determined by an engineer. I don't know what theirs was determined by, but we know that Diener was involved when that retention pond, when they built their retention pond. You know that Diener had to be involved. So, and then you look at State Employees Credit Union. They build a building. They don't have a retention pond. So they did the same thing that we did. It's just a matter of, like county manager said, we just weren't involved. And clearly, Toby wasn't authorized, but he did have the authority. But the communication thing is probably why we're at this point. I question if LS3P, they're professionals,
Right.
and I question whether LS3P should be consulted about this bill, and that maybe they should be the responsible party to write this check.
Well, certainly that's probably an option we could look at. We may want to talk with our county attorney. Ken, you want to follow up on that?
I will.
And we'll,
Well, I would certainly echo those comments. There again, it's not the taxpayers of Gates County's responsibility.
we do want to make mention that the monies could not have been paid unless they were already in the budget and the capital, the construction budget or the capital project. So the monies were there. And obviously the county manager figured out that they were available. Now, you know, and it also appears that we could have saved $9,000 at the end if he had not spent that, but the monies were already appropriated.
I'm pretty sure he was influenced by the fact that the land was donated to us.
True.
Has this money already been dispersed?
Yes. Had to be.
Okay. All right, it looks like on this issue, we'll consult with our county attorney about talking with LS3P, our architect, to see why this requirement was not included in the construction bid price or in the specs as they appear it should have been. Okay? All right.
Can I add one footnote to that, to all of this? I'm going to use the phrase from Kenny here. I guess I stirred up this can of worms, but
It happens.
it happens. I want to be better educated from being a member of the planning board, because I'm going to chime in on what Commissioner Owens has just said. I was strictly 100% in the know that when Mel Hopkins and Associates, which was the developer's engineer, and presented that plat in its preliminary and its final stages, and the final stage, and Commissioner Hoffler can correct me if I'm wrong, but there were sign-offs from Diener that was inclusive of the 156 acres that was approved in that final plat. And that retention pond was inclusive of what was going to be projected in stages 1 and 2 and 3, and probably have to be expanded somewhere around stage 3 or stage 4, if I remember correctly. But that pond as it is now, in my interpretation of what was presented to us, was to be inclusive of first stage development. And that's all I'll say. Thank you.
And Madam Clerk, I'd like to,
County manager just made a statement that the first stage development did not include the library. Of course, we'd have to research all that. Anytime you have a construction, then that construction project has to be evaluated as to what the storm runoff requirement's going to be. But anyway, we'll look into all that. Yes. Any other comment?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to state something also. My understanding was that this enlargement of that pond has already happened. It happened at the time they built it. And the sort of the deal to the county was, at the end of building the library, if that money was left, that's when they got the $9,000 for the enlarging of that pond. So I think the pond has already been enlarged, from my understanding. And I would like that checked to make sure that has happened, if it already has. I'd like to know that factor also. And what Chuck was talking about on the second part of that program and the third part of that expansion, there will be additional ponds built on that property. Is that not correct? I mean, that's what was in the plots.
That's the way I was interpreting it,
And that's right.
And I firmly thought that the library was part of the first stage of development.
No. There were 4 lots included in the first phase, and the library was not one of those 4.
And the first lots were the ones across the road on 158, isn't that correct? Okay.
And like I say, my understanding was that the pond has already been enlarged when they were building it to accommodate the library. And I would like that research to make sure that is correct.
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, and again, I think what Ken said is exactly right. Lack of communications and lack of business acumen is what this is all about.
If I could add, because I was on the planning board when we did these plots, originally though, there was 10 lots that Mr. Oles was bringing up for consideration. Then he cut it back to the 4 or 5 lots. But the retention pond, I thought we had said it was for the 10 lots. But maybe it was a lot of difference. I mean, he cut back.
I think the clarification should be brought back to the board, and then consult with our attorney to see where we can go with bringing some kind of adjustment with LS3P. All right. The next item on our agenda, old business, it would be the reallocation of funding for salaries. Board, at our last meeting, the Personnel Board brought recommendations to the Board of Commissioners requesting that the Sheriff Department would provide a raise or utilize some funds from a previous employer to be used for one of the deputies that's currently on the board. The sheriff requested that. The Personnel Board recommended approval of that because the deputy was taking on additional responsibilities. Well, the Board of Commissioners requested that Sheriff Rebb put it in writing and bring it back to the board, and you have it in front of you. And I take it that all of you have read it. And
since this is about an individual, you can't. You can't talk about it in closed session if you want to, since it's about an individual.
It's got a name on it.
yeah. You have it in front of you. We will not discuss the names, but if it's the pleasure of the board to approve the requested increase by the sheriff based on the duties and responsibilities that this officer has, we'll entertain moving forward on that.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say I'd like to move forward on this, but I do want to address one more issue that I've talked about in the past, and that's the shift differentials. I want us to be proactive about that too with some of these deputies that are working nights with shift differentials that are making, for the personnel board to be looking at that. But I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, it's been motion and second that the recommendation by Sheriff Webb to provide an increase to one of the deputies who has additional responsibilities be approved. We have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Okay, our next item on the agenda is new business and the hiring of our county manager. The Board of Commissioners have made an extensive search, and we've gone through quite a few interviews. As a matter of fact, we interviewed approximately 12 or 13 candidates, and after interviewing them, we have come to the conclusion that our next county manager will be a gentleman by the name of Mr. John Mendenhall. And we want to read a press release that we will give to Mr. Cal Bryant. And we announced to the public and to Gates County that the Gates County Board of Commissioners today announced that John Mendenhall will be the new county manager effective January 14, 2013. John is a native of High Point, North Carolina. He's an undergraduate of University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. He's a graduate of East Carolina University with a master's in technology systems. Additional studies in project management have been completed at North Carolina State University. John is currently the Assistant County Administrator in Southampton County, Virginia, since April 2011. Prior to his position, he was Director of Engineering Services for Albemarle, North Carolina, Planning Director for Tift County, Georgia, and County Planner for Stanley County, North Carolina. This gentleman has an exceptional background in local government and will be a real asset to Gates County in the future. His experience in budgeting, grant writing, management, engineering, planning, water and sewer systems, GIS, computer operations, and transportation gives Gates County a person with many talents. Best of all, however, his ability to be a real people person who can relate to the citizens of Gates County. We would like to invite anyone who would like to meet John to be at Merchants Mill Pond State Park on Thursday, January 17, 2013, from 4 to 6 p.m., and we will have a reception at that time and give everyone a chance to speak to him. Any additional information, you can contact our interim county manager. We do want to thank everyone that applied for the county manager job. We did do a thorough evaluation, and we will be sending out notifications to those who we interviewed in the near future. But at this time, we want to make it a public announcement that the name John Mendenhall will be documented in our minutes as the new county manager of Gates County. And before we go into that, if we have any discussions or comments, we'll entertain them at this time.
Go ahead, Jack.
Well, it was very interesting going through the process. And we did have quite a few candidates that stood out. And we were diligent in meeting every local candidate from Gates County who applied for the position. And we had multiple interviews with the final candidates. And I think that you will be very impressed with John. Just looking at his history, seeing the way he carries himself, and the professionalism that I saw in the way he answered and responded to our questions led me to believe that he was the top candidate. And I'm looking forward to working with him. And I want to encourage you, I want to give you that date again. It'll be in the paper. But it is Thursday, January the 17th at 4 to 6 p.m. It's like a floating thing at Merchants Mill Pond. So if you will, please jot that down or buy a newspaper and check it out.
As we start a new year, we also start anew in Gates County management. Many around my community, as well as across the county, had approached me about hiring locally if those skill sets were present. Well, for me, that was the way it turned out, as my first choice was a local county resident who possessed the education and public sector experience that was advertised and presented themselves very professionally and intellectually. My decision was based both on professional attributes as well as the potential of building a long-term organizational strategy rather than the short-term fix Gates County has had for the last decade. However, that was not the opinion of the majority of the Board of Commissioners. The chosen candidate by the majority, however, was my second choice and my first choice among those non-residents of Gates County. Therefore, the choice of the majority deserves my support and is no doubt is an excellent candidate. And I just hope that the community will embrace that and we can move forward, and I'm on the affirmative with that. And I think that hopefully, at least on the short term, we will be in good shape. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I was also like Jack. We interviewed 11 or 12 people. We came down here on several different occasions to do these interviews. We re-interviewed. So this is not something that was just taken very lightly. It was very time-consuming, but I felt like Mr. Mendenhall was our top candidate. That's who I voted for, and that's who I'm going to support. One of the things that I certainly want and hope is that he stays a long time in this position. I know in the past we have changed county managers. In the 6 years that I've been here, we've changed several different times. And I hope, like I say, I hope he stays longer, and I hope he does a great job. Thank you.
And I just would agree with the gentleman with what they have said. I was not in on the first round of interviews, but I was on the final interviews of the 4 candidates. We had some exceptional candidates, and it's a very tough choice. I do think John has all the skills and tools needed to be a successful county manager, and I think he will communicate not only with the board, but with the public. He is a people's person, and I look forward to working with him.
All right. All right, thank you. And at this time, to make it official in our County Commissioners' minutes, we will entertain a motion to document John Mendenhall's name as our next county manager of Gates County.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that today that we announce, beginning January the 14th, that John Mendenhall will be voted upon today and confirmed as our new county manager.
All right. All right, we've authorized the hiring, so we're voting on his name to be documented as the county manager. We can second that.
Second.
All right. It's been motioned second that John Mendenhall be documented and designated in our minutes as the next county manager of Gates County beginning January 14th. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Nay. Right, thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Our next item on the agenda will be the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners will meet on January 24th and 25th. Each county is asked to provide a voting delegate at that meeting, as the various items are discussed that will be brought before the General Assembly. And it is recommended that a commissioner be appointed. Of course, in the past, we have used a county manager, but we want to open that up for discussion and volunteers as you see fit. So, and any discussion as to who would like to go or any questions about this voting delegate?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
in concurrence, as I had originally said in my statement, that I do know that Mr. Mendenhall is very capable of that, in my opinion. And I think he will be on board then. I think it's time to step up.
Okay, any other discussion? Or you want to nominate him?
Yes, I do.
I went last year, and it was very informative. Made some good contacts while I was there. And if Linda had been here a little bit longer, I would say she could learn a little something there, but I'm looking at the date. Our new county manager is going to come on board on the 14th.
And then be gone on the 20th.
And it's going to be gone 2 days, right after he gets here, 24th and 25th. I mean, that would be my only reservation with that.
All right. Ken, Linda?
I'm like John. I mean, he's supposed to have the experience that we were looking for, and I think he needs to go. And Jack said something about Linda not have been here very long. I meant, if Linda needs to go, who feels like she needs to go, I certainly support that also.
All right, all right.
Is Linda dying to go?
All right.
Well, I have to go the next week to the new commissioners'
Right.
training.
Training.
She'll get a lot of contacts then, believe me.
Yeah. Should get an earful then.
But,
So thank you, but no thanks.
but I would recommend that Mr. Mendenhall be allowed to go to this also.
All right, before we vote, I would say that I agree with John and Ken wholeheartedly. Jack went last year. I agree with Jack somewhat. I have some reservations about sending him the next week he gets here. You know, I would like to, if Commissioner Owens had the time, you know, I wouldn't have a problem with you going back. It probably would even be good if the chairman went, but I looked at that date and I've got a meeting on the 24th, so I'd have to go to Raleigh and come back. That's going to be a little tight. 25th wouldn't be a problem.
Well,
Well, you can send two, right? One vote?
You can only send one. Wait a minute.
it's only one that can vote.
There's only one voter.
Okay.
Does John Hora have any interest in going?
No, sir. Like I said, I agree with all the comments here, but hey, the train's leaving, and the man's got the criteria, and he needs exposure. I think there's a lot to be gained from his standpoint.
Okay. All right, you want to make that nomination? You want to nominate him?
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion that we send John Mendenhall to our delegate as Legislative Goals Conference on January 24th and 25th,
All right.
And as voting delegate.
and as voting delegate.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right, it's been properly motioned second that we will designate our, or appoint our new county manager as our voting delegate. All in favor? Aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay. Okay, that's regular.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend him being notified today so he can adjust his calendar.
I'll second that one.
Okay.
All right. That's what happens when you're not here, right?
And I will say, let's say that there were some conflict, I would be willing to go.
All right,
I'll second that.
okay. Great. All right, the next item, and it has to do with our county manager, and to just make it appropriate, we probably ought to add this to our agenda, and I would like to have a motion to do that, is the notification of our interim county manager of his resignation. If I can get a motion on that, to add that to the agenda so I can discuss
So
that.
moved.
Second.
All right, so motion second that we'll add that to the agenda. Based on a contract that we had with our interim county manager, it said that he had to give us 30 days' notice prior to him leaving. And now that we've hired a county manager, our interim county manager has given us his notification, and notification reads to Mr. Henry Jordan, Chairman, Gates County Board of Commissioners. Per our contract, I'm required to give the county 30 days' notice before I leave. This letter provides that notice. My last week as interim county manager will be January 14th through the 18th. I will be leaving at 12 p.m. on Friday, January 18th. This has truly been a great experience for me as interim county manager. I know that I leave the county in good hands. I also wish to thank the commissioners and employees of Gates County for making me feel so welcome. Sincerely, Kenneth N. Windley, Jr., interim county manager. Okay? So he'll give John 1 week overlap and turnover prior to his leaving. Okay? Ken, any comments you want to make?
Just like I said in the letter, this has been a very, very positive experience for me. I hope it's been a positive experience for Gates County and the employees. Hopefully I've been able to share some skills and knowledge that I've accumulated over the last 38 or 9 years that can benefit the county. And I think that the new manager coming in, Mr. Mendenhall, exhibits a lot of the skill level that I have already in his career. So I think the board has made a positive, good decision, and which, as a fellow professional, I would be very supportive of. And again, let me thank the board for inviting me to come here for the last couple of months. And also, let me thank the employees also, who have shown a very good willingness to listen to recommendations and to, it's something that I think is important for the public to understand and the board to re-emphasize, is that there are some extremely good employees in this county. And I have been most pleased with the knowledge level that most of those employees have, and their willingness to learn something new. And everything has been a real positive for me. And again, thank you, commissioners, for inviting me here.
All right. Well, we thank you, Ken, and we do thank Ken for making himself available. I will say that he's certainly proven to be everything we thought he would be, and when we selected him, we felt like we were making the right choice, and I think the board will agree that he's been very good for us and saved us a lot of money as well. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a statement on that, too. And this is really to Mr. Windley. Obviously, I have been extremely pleased. The last 2 months have been very rewarding to me. Had professionalism and an exhibit by Mr. Windley. Was very welcomed by me, of course. Had the opportunity to sit down with him and share some ideas. And I hope that I get a chance to work on one of these before he leaves here. And this is the natural gas thing. I'm extremely, he understands what I'm talking about, and he's very supportive of that. And I want to see us move that forward. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think we've got some challenges here And I think the way to get us back on course and give us some opportunities, that we need that. And Ken, I really appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, we'll move forward. The last item on our agenda is the appointment to the Rural Planning Organization, Transportation Advisory Committee, and Technical Coordinating Committee. You have in front of you a memo from the Rural Planning Organization that says every 2 years, the Albemarle Rural Planning Organization must update their membership to 2 boards. The first board is the TAC, or Transportation Advisory Committee, which is made up of elected officials from each county and municipality. The second is the Technical Coordinating Committee, which is typically made up of planners, managers, and other county or municipal staff designated. The RPO is asking each municipality to reappoint existing or nominate new members to both boards to serve for your town or county. Please respond with a letter of nomination as soon as possible. Our next board meeting is going to be held in February. We will also have a new member training session in January to bring new members up to speed. As of 2012, the Albemarle RPO is a signatory member of all merger projects for the region. With this, all members of both boards are covered by the State Government Ethics Act and must attend ethics training in the future. We look forward to continuing our representation of your unit of government. Obviously, Morgan, our planning director, is appointed to that board, but we need a county commissioner. And we kind of look, go
I'd
ahead.
like to nominate Mr. Owens since he,
Mr. Owens.
I think he's vacant a position, is that right?
Yeah, you're gonna renominate me for that.
Renominate, you, okay, I'll renominate Mr. Owens.
All right. Mr. Harper, did you have any input on that? I know we didn't want to exclude you from any.
No, that's fine. Remember, I got a bunch of boards appointed to last time.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, does the manager, does he go to these things also?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Uh,
I think I was on it 1 year. I think first year I was on that board.
Yeah, this is one of those boards where you go and you sit and you listen. As you get there and you find out you don't have any authority, you're dealing with the Department of Transportation, and all you are is a bring back messenger.
Okay.
I mean, there's a little voting that goes on, but at the end of the day, DOT's got a lot to say about it.
Okay. All right. John, you want to make a motion that Mr. Commissioner Owens be appointed?
I'll make a motion that Commissioner Owens be appointed to this, Albemarle Rural Planning Organizational Board.
Actually, it's the, John, just to get it right, Transportation Advisory Committee.
Transportation Advisory Committee.
All right. Have a motion?
Second.
There's been motion second that we appoint Commissioner Owens to serve on the TAC committee. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay.
How often do they meet?
Quarterly.
Quarterly.
All right, this completes our agenda items. The next item would be our citizens' comments. We don't have any signed up. All right, I think we can work that out. Okay.
I don't know what it is, Perry, but Earl Rantry sees a microphone, he starts talking, don't he? Sometimes my wife will say, I didn't know that you knew that about yourself. I'll say something like that, and I said, I know a lot about myself that I don't even tell people. Now, as y'all all know, we got a new administration coming up in Raleigh. And I don't know whether or not, it's not going to affect us one way or the other too much. But the name Art Pope mean anything to anybody besides Ken? Did Art Pope mean anything to y'all? Well, Art Pope has been, he's a multimillionaire, his family is, and he spends millions of dollars promoting North Carolina. And he has ran for lieutenant governor one time. He was served in the state house for a while. I've known him since 1984. But Art is the budget advisor to the new governor coming in. But Art is very physically conservative. And the only thing that I wanted to say, it bothers me a little bit, but I can assure you one thing, that the county don't need to be worrying about looking for a lot of extra money out of Raleigh anymore. First, and Ken, I thought Ken would back me up because he's got 38 or 39 years involved in this stuff. And Art is not going to waste any money. And just one little thing, and I sent Ken an email some time back, but, you know, one thing that's bothering me is our Commerce Park, and this word that Cal wrote a couple of articles on was clawbacks. And I'm just putting this out there to you because I'm assure you that the legislature, along with Art Pope, are not going to be a group of people that you go up there and says, hey, look, man, says, give us 2 or 3 more years. Look, you can't come down here and want this money. Art don't work that way. Art has this sense of humor of a rattlesnake. And I think the world of him. We've known each other for a long time. I wouldn't say we were personal friends, but he doesn't smile a lot. And he doesn't joke a lot. And when it comes to this state budget, I just want to let y'all know it's no need to be expecting a whole lot out of Raleigh. And maybe Ken might be able to verify that I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. And we, of course, we got a new state senator. And many of y'all know that I went to all the public hearings. David Lewis, who represented David Lewis, always introduced me as his good friend because I went to so many of them. And I wanted to get us out of the new House district, and that didn't work. I did, and I'm not saying I did it, but we got in a new Senate district. And we got a new state senator. And from now on, I call him Landslide Cook. He lost the election, had a recount, and then won the election by a few votes. So he's Landslide Cook. But he'll be sworn in this coming Sunday night in Beaufort County. But we're going to have to work with him. And I warned a couple of you in emails to stay out of this race because we're going to have to come back and work with him. But I assure you that, but he's going to be a freshman senator up there. He's going to have limited power. He knows that. But I'm sure he'll work with us. I just want to bring up some politics, Henry, because this is the way of the world.
Appreciate it, Earl. All right. The last item on our agenda is the commissioner's comments. And we'll start with Commissioner Hopper.
Well, I'm looking forward to this year, 2013, working with my commissioners, all commissioners, and working with the new county manager. My emphasis is on communication between the board, the manager, and the public. And I'm wishing you all the best.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming today, and I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and a joyous New Year at the beginning. This being the second day of our new year. I look forward to seeing many of these faces on all our meetings. Some of you come to all of them, and I enjoy seeing you. Certainly hope that more people can attend them without it being just a necessity for something that they want, to be more informed of what's going on in their county. And I look forward to seeing you again later. Thank you.
John.
Happy 2013. It's here. all of the naysayers that said 12, 21, 12 would be it, well, they were wrong. 2012 was very rewarding to me. I'm the finance guy. I liked for the money. Over $1 million savings, and I'm glad that finally got that pushed through. It's very important to me. I have some more projects that I think are financially beneficial to Gates County. One of them is a natural gas thing that has the ability to do some savings, and I'm looking forward to 2013 to try to sell that and get it going and see if we can get those savings booked on the books and save the taxpayers some money. And as Linda said, it's all about communication. It's about you, the citizens, getting involved and communicating with the commissioners as what your wants and desires are, and then we evaluate those and implement those. I'm here to serve you, the citizen. You are my boss, and I will never forget that. And I appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to working with my fellow commissioners. And Ken, I want to thank you for coming and sharing with us the things that you've helped us with. And it's been very refreshing to see and hear someone's viewpoint who's coming in and inspecting things. So we've learned a little bit from that, and we wish you well. And looking forward to a great 2013.
Thank you, Jack. Thank all the commissioners. I, too, say Happy New Year to everyone. Glad to see as many of you out today. We have a year ahead of us that I believe is a promising year. We have a lot of things on the plate, have a lot of projects out there. I look forward to trying to move forward on those projects to make Gates County a better place for all of our citizens. So we thank you. We thank you for the support that you give us, and we look to see you next time. We do want to recognize one of our commissioners, Linda Hoffler. And at this time, we're going to ask Ms. Hoffler to come forward. The Planning Board wanted to recognize you as having provided distinguished service for the last 5 years.
Wow.
And we're always thankful to have our citizens of the county participate in the governance of the county in various positions and settings. Certainly the Planning Board is one of those boards that has a lot of influence over the county. You won't get rich serving on the Planning Board, but certainly you can make a lot of difference. Commissioner Linda Hoffler is a retired school teacher. She's now an elected county commissioner, but she has served 5 years of dedicated service on the Planning Board prior to becoming a commissioner. And the Planning Board present this plaque to you as appreciation and commendation for the service that you've given to Gates County as a Planning Board member.
Well, thank you so much. I enjoyed my term on the planning board.
Oh, thank you. All right, this concludes our County Commissioner meeting for January 2nd, 2013. And at this time, we will need... Yes, we're going to have a recess, and then we'll ask for a motion to go into closed session to discuss economic development in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, .11A4.
We need to add A6 too, don't we, Henry? The personnel thing.
What is that?
The sheriff's thing.
Oh, we already did that.
Can we add A6 too?
All right, A4 and A6. We need a motion on that.
So move.
Second.
All right, it's been motion second that we'll recess and then we'll go into closed session. We thank you all for coming. closed session. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we'll entertain a motion to recess until our January 23rd night meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you all.